300 grand poof gone in one night. That's what Vivian Blackstone, my HOA president, with the fake tan and a taste for trouble, lost when she tried to steal my family's private lake. And the punchline: I didn't lift a finger, I just called in nature's ultimate demolition crew, Beavers. Yep, you heard me right. She went all in on some floating restaurant scam, and the Beavers, they did the heavy lifting, chewing through every support beam she'd paid for with investor money, until that whole waterfront dining experience tilted, groaned, and sank like a mobster's getaway car. Champagne glasses bobbing in the muddy water, her fancy white BMW parked crooked by the dock, mascara streaked down her face while she shrieked at investors. If you're tuning in, I want to know, where are you watching from, and what's the wildest thing your HOA ever pulled? Trust me, this one's tough to beat. My name's Sebastian Thornfield, and 6 months ago I inherited what most people would call a dream: 12 acres of spring-fed water, crystal clear, wrapped in peace, and the kind of quiet that gets rarer every year. My granddad spent 40 years turning an old irrigation pond into his own little paradise, a fishing cabin, bass bigger than your forearm, and the kind of view you can't buy. I'm 52, newly divorced, thanks for the alimony, Jennifer working as an environmental consultant, and when I held those property deeds, I felt like I'd finally come up for air. After months sleeping on my brother's couch and wrestling with lawyers, I had a sanctuary. Only the world doesn't leave you alone for long. This lake sits in the heart of suburban Colorado, boxed in by Willowbrook Estates. Picture those McMansions with lawns so green they look photoshopped. Granddad's old cabin and rough shoreline stuck out like a hippie at a country club. And that well that drew Vivian like a shark to blood. Imagine a woman who thinks the term Karen is an insult to her skill set. She's 58, hair like spun straw, perfume so thick you can smell her coming a mile off, and she drives a white BMW with a license plate that literally says HOA boss. She turned pettiness into a job. The first time I saw her, she was coming up my drive with a clipboard in one hand, measuring tape in the other, heels clicking out a warning. "Mr. Thornfield," she snapped, not even bothering with small talk. "I am Vivian Blackstone, president of the Willowbrook Homeowners Association. We need to discuss your non-compliant water feature." Non-compliant water feature. Like my family's legacy was a broken lawn sprinkler. She circled the shoreline tape measure, snapping in the morning air, declaring my lake in violation of updated setback requirements. According to her, anything over 10,000 square feet needed a full environmental impact study. Never mind, my grandfather dug it in '62. I tried to explain its private property, has been for decades, but she was already scribbling violations, tossing out words like daily fines and enforcement action. $500 a day plus attorney's fees. Just before she left, she hit me with this: "Our development committee is considering enhanced waterfront amenities. A dining establishment, perhaps, could be transformative for property values." Yeah. She was already laying the groundwork to take the place. That night I buried myself in county records, chasing a gut feeling. And wouldn't you know, she'd pushed that new ordinance through the Planning Commission 2 weeks after my granddad's obituary ran in the Denver Post. And she sat on the commission. Vivian, the so-called community advocate. But here's what she didn't know: I've spent 20 years working in wetlands. I know every environmental loophole and protection law in the book. And I remembered Granddad's stories about the beaver families that built dams up here before the county chased them off. By week 2, Vivian launched her bureaucratic blitzkrieg emergency complaint zoning hearings, the works. She claimed I was running an unlicensed commercial fishing operation because I let my nephew's scout troop fish one weekend. The hearing was set with 48 hours notice. I walked in with nothing but a binder and a grudge, facing a crowd in matching concerned citizens t-shirts, and Vivian at the head calling my lake a public health hazard. Mosquitoes, bacteria, endangered species, you name it. She accused me of harboring it. I laid out 60 years of property records, land patents, tax receipts, even a survey showing we had endangered pike minnow in the water, meaning it's cleaner than half the town's drinking supply. You could almost hear her credibility deflate. That's when she played her ace architectural plans for the Willowbrook waterfront dining experience already funded. She bragged kayak rentals, valet parking, floating restaurant, the works. My peaceful lake turned into a Chuck E. Cheese on water. She flashed her investor commitments, 300 grand. The room cheered, but all I saw was a recipe for disaster. The platform design looked shoddy even to my untrained eye. After the meeting, I found Jim Clearwater, the county wildlife officer, studying my old survey map. He pointed out the original Beaver Dam location, said beavers have generational memory. They come back if the habitat's right. That got my wheels turning. Federal law, turns out, protects native wildlife, recolonizing their historic habitats. And if beavers return, their claim would trump any local zoning. Colorado law even encourages it if you file the right paperwork. Week 3. I woke to the rumble of heavy machinery outside Vivian's crew setting up on my shore. The work order was signed by the county emergency coordinator, who turned out to be her 24-year-old nephew, and cited code for snow removal, not water quality. While I confirmed the scam with the county, her crew installed a testing platform that was just the restaurant base in disguise. When the sheriff showed up, he shrugged. "Take it up with the courts." I was furious, but it was time to stop playing defense. I recruited Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a wildlife biologist, and Tommy Clearwater, retired Army Corps of Engineers. Elena was thrilled about beaver habitat restoration. She'd studied recolonization for years. Tommy looked at the old dam site and said, "If beavers rebuild here, they'll drop your lake by 4 feet in a month." We found out from Jake Morrison, a fishing guide, that a beaver family was already scouting the area. All I needed to do was remove the old barriers and file the paperwork, every step documented for federal protection. While Vivian ramped up construction, I became a detective. What I found in business records made my skin crawl. She'd run this scam before, raise money for community improvement, run into problems, collect fat insurance payouts, and leave investors holding the bag. 3 projects in the last decade, all ending the same way. But this time, she'd already insured her restaurant, wildlife damage included. Total coverage, $750,000 for a project that cost $300,000. The whole thing was an insurance fraud waiting to happen. Then nature did its work. The beavers, released upstream, legally started building. Over a few weeks, their dam grew into an engineering marvel, lowered the lake, shifted water flow, and put all kinds of strain on Vivian's platform. I documented everything: cameras, environmental reports, lawyer letters. The stage was set. Opening night for her restaurant arrived, tickets sold, local officials invited. But the water had dropped by almost 5 feet, and her floating palace sat at a precarious angle. By 7:00 p.m., the Beaver Dam hit peak flow. Lake levels dropped another 2 feet in minutes. Guests clung to champagne flutes as tables and appliances started sliding. Fire crews evacuated the deck, while Vivian stood soaked, watching her dream and everyone's investment disappear beneath the water. I watched from my granddad's porch, camera in hand, feeling justice in my bones. The cherry on top: that same night, Robert Monroe, an insurance fraud investigator, arrived at my door with Sarah, my environmental lawyer, and a stack of evidence that would make a prosecutor drool. My documentation, combined with their 3-month investigation, painted Vivian as a serial scammer, and every public statement she made about damages matched her insurance policies to the penny. Within weeks, the FBI and IRS were on the case. Federal agents everywhere tracing shell companies, seizing files, and turning up evidence of systematic targeting veterans, elderly, minorities. Vivian had weaponized HOA bureaucracy against people who couldn't fight back. She ended up arrested live at the county commissioners' meeting, mid-rant about environmental terrorism. The room broke out in applause as federal agents led her out. 6 months later, Granddad's Lake is a conservation model. The Beavers are local heroes, and Vivian's doing 18 months in federal prison, stripped of her license, bankrupt, and barred from ever running an HOA again. The community once split came together for education programs, wildlife festivals, and actual progress. Property values soared. Kids learn about ecosystems, and the real lesson stuck with everyone. Here's what I learned: sometimes justice takes the form of a family of beavers and a community waking up to what really matters. Laws protect the land, but it's people and a little natural karma that really tip the scales. And as for Vivian, turns out you can't outsmart nature or karma forever. So here's my question for you. Where do you draw the line between protecting your home and abusing power? Ever seen an HOA go too far? Drop your story below. Let's hear the wildest tale you've got. Maybe, just maybe, your story's next. If this saga hit a nerve or gave you a laugh, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what justice looks like in your neighborhood. And if you want more stories of ordinary people taking on corrupt systems and winning, hit that subscribe and notification bell. Next week, I'll tell you about the retired chemistry teacher who stopped a mining company from poisoning an entire watershed. Stick around, you won't want to miss it.